What's going on? Welcome back to another Vinegar Syndrome review featuring Luther the Geek, the chicken head biter. This is one hell of an exploitation film from Vinegar Syndrome, which they are infamous for releasing that kind of type and something very unique, I would say. I would consider it a slasher for sure, even though the killer pretty much goes around biting people's necks more than slashing them, but you get kind of the same stereotypical kill after kill, cheesy acting, hot girl showing her tits at one point. And it's fun. It doesn't overstay its welcome. This one is only an hour and 20 minutes. And this is directed by Carlton Albright. And this was made in 1988, but got its big distribution in 1989. There's actually an introduction on this version featuring the director talking for like just under a minute. Um, he's going off about, he's just totally ripping apart the distributors of this film, or the production company, or somebody who was in charge of giving it its initial release back in the 80s. And he's just tearing them apart, dissing the shit out of them. It was actually pretty hilarious. But yeah, the film, basically what we have going on is you've got this circus freak in 1938, which they called geeks, because as the director explains, back in like the Depression, Prohibition times kind of thing, when they had all these stage, like traveling carnivals kind of thing with these freaks. That's where the term kind of freaks and geeks comes from, I guess. Geeks were basically people so low on their luck and low on their lives that they'd pretty much do anything to drink, essentially. And for like a shot of whiskey or a drink of whatever, they would basically do really stupid shit in front of stupid people or in front of people who are willing to pay them. And a lot of them would like bite the heads off chickens and stuff. So you have this guy, he's in a cage, you know, he's biting the head off a chicken, and you have this crowd around him with torches, and they're all egging him on and stuff like that. And there's this little kid who witnesses this, and this little kid's name is Luther, and basically from witnessing this event, he gets traumatized, as is later explained in the film, where when he becomes a teenager, he murders 3 people by, you know, taking chunks off their necks. And yeah, and then this flashes forward a little bit later. Doesn't exactly say how long, but according to the timelines, being that Luther is claimed to have been put away for 25 years, I'm guessing this takes place late 60s, early 70s. You have a bunch of lawyers arguing, and half of them want to put him on parole, but the other half want to keep him in jail because he's a maniac. But since he's served his time, technically he's eligible for parole and whatnot. But he's released, and then he causes a little bit of havoc in a grocery store. There's a scene involving this old lady, and then he hides himself in the vehicle of this woman, and this woman's name is Mrs. Lawson, and he's hiding in the back seat, and he escorts himself to her home. This all takes place in rural Illinois, and then Luther the Geek starts to cause havoc in this little farmhouse with this woman and her daughter that's in college that comes home for a visit with her boyfriend, and a local sheriff as well. It's ridiculous, like I said. Luther is basically, he has the psychology of a chicken. He acts like a chicken for the whole film. And let me tell you, this guy's really good at acting like a chicken. Like, he must have spent a lot of time rehearsing with chickens, because the sounds that this guy can produce, my gosh, it's hilarious, but it's disturbing at the same time. I don't know what purpose this film was made for, whether it was intentional comedy, or I assume it had to be. I mean, it is a slasher, and it plays out pretty gory. The special effects are actually all practical, and they look pretty gruesome. I mean, you get a lot of chicken mutilations, and obviously, fake chickens. There's no animal cruelty in it or anything, but you get scenes where he's biting a head off a chicken, and you get all the lineaments and cartilage and disgustingness going on with them with that. I like the cover art on this too. Vinegar Signature really knows what they are doing with slipcovers for sure, but he does have this pair of metal teeth that he uses to devour people's necks. And the main guy who plays the freak, Mark Edwards, like I said, I don't know what he was doing for his rehearsals, but damn, he's creepy, he's weird, he's over the top. I think of Vampire's Kiss with Nicolas Cage and that performance and how over the top it was with this film, because I would say this one even beats it. So for everybody who loves Nicolas Cage going like balls to the wall batshit in Vampire's Kiss, you really need to go look for Luther the Geek and check it out, because man, does it fight tooth and nail with Nicolas Cage's performance with Buddy in this one, Mark Edwards. So yeah, at the grocery store, he just waltzes in. This is like right after he's released. He's eating raw eggs because him and anything to do with chickens is just this guy's obsession, basically. He doesn't talk throughout the film, he just clucks. And it's goofy as fuck. It's just goofy as absolute shit. And he's in this grocery store, he's kicked out, obviously. He goes outside, and then you have your first kill where this old lady is sitting in a bench, and he totally devours her neck. And like I said, the practical effects are really, really well done. Funny though, because in one of the special features, there's an interview with the director, and the director claimed that the special effects guy wanted no credit whatsoever towards this film, like 2 weeks before they were supposed to wrap up. Apparently, the special effects guy hated the movie and hated everything, everything that he had done for the last however many months. He just hated everything and wanted his name absolutely not in the credits at all, or he wanted no credit, to the point where he even asked to go through lawyers and everything to keep his name off this project. And I found that funny because, according to the director, this guy was so determined not to have his name on this. But I also find it funny because the practical effects really aren't that bad. And maybe it was because of the themes of the film. I mean, the film is really exploitive. Like, it's an exploitation project at its best. That, like, with sex, with the female characters, with, obviously, Mark Edwards. Not Mark Edwards. Sorry, Mark Edwards played the sheriff. Edward Terry, who plays the freak. Obviously, it's way exploitive with him, acting like a chicken the whole time. I don't know what that did for his career. Obviously, he didn't really have a big one, or he didn't continue his acting. Like a lot of people in these lower budget exploitation films don't. Like, usually, they're pretty much one-hit wonders. But yeah, for what he was asked, I mean, he delivers in spades, let me tell you. Or feathers. So Buddy hitches this ride by hiding in the back seat, which he's totally not noticed by Mrs. Lawson, lying in the back seat or whatnot. Gets to the farm, he immediately goes to the barn where all the chickens are, and there's there's your second chicken head biting scene, because there was the geek at the beginning of the film. In 1938, which the kid witnessed, Luther, and then Luther's first chicken kill is in the barn at this county farmhouse place. Then he starts tormenting this woman. Well, she's played by Joan something. I didn't write her name down, but she just basically goes by Mrs. Lawson, or the mother in the film. He ties her up, and then this is where Beth and Rob show up, and Beth is Mrs. Lawson's daughter, Beautiful actress. My God, this girl is absolutely gorgeous. She's played by Stacy Heidick. Heidick, I think. Did I write that correct? Yes, Heidick. Stacy Heidick, and then Rob is played by Thomas Mills. I don't recognize any of these actors or actresses, obviously, but yeah, they play this college couple. There's really long takes in this film. Like, there's a lot of scenes that kind of play out for a lot longer than you would expect them to. I don't know if that was to stretch the running time of this film. I mean, it already is so short, but there's not a lot that goes on plot wise other than Luther the Geek tormenting this family and this local sheriff that ends up coming by. About the characters, Beth is gorgeous, like I said, but she is so not very intelligent. And her and her mom just have this strange relationship because, I don't know, there's odd scenes throughout the film. Now, it comes with the territory, obviously, but, you know, when her mom's tied up, Beth barely knows what to do to, like, untie her and all that. And it's just bizarre. She hides under the bed, and then once Luther ends up leaving, there's a scene where the mother's trying to get her attention while she's right under the bed. So I don't know if she has this condition where she kind of freezes up when she's scared or in danger or something like that. I don't know if that's what the director was going with, but there are scenes where she'll kind of just freeze up and become almost catatonic kind of thing. The boyfriend, her boyfriend Rob, he actually, his death is gruesome. My gosh, the way that guy was mutilated, later, like when you see him with like his heart hanging out and stuff, which is still beating, so obviously he's still alive for a bit. But man, just the whole practical effects. Again, back to the special effects guy who wanted no credit. He had some gruesome ass looking stuff going on with Rob's stomach and Rob's chest being completely ripped open and the heart beating outside of his chest. It was really, really disgusting. But yeah, and then the characters, they're just, there's, oh, I can't forget about the scene with where the sheriff comes to the door because the whole county is looking for Luther because of the grocery store incident. And he's at the door, and obviously Luther's in the house, and Luther actually has access to a gun, but Beth and the sheriff are alone at the door, and they're talking through a screen door, and Beth does not want to bring any attention to the sheriff. I guess she's afraid of getting shot or being murdered, or having the both of them be murdered, her and the sheriff. But Jesus Christ, the opportunities that this girl has just to whisper to the sheriff, because the sheriff already knows that Luther's, you know, wandering somewhere. He's on the hunt for him. So the sheriff's an idiot for not cluing in that, you know, this girl's probably being taken hostage. But she's also dumb for not bringing it to his attention. So he just leaves and starts heading back to his car. And then this is where Beth runs out the door after him and says, "Hey, please don't go. I can make you a cup of coffee." And he's like, "No, I can't. I'm on duty." Like, and then he just goes in the car and leaves. So she doesn't, you know, slow him down and be like, "Hey, wait, there's somebody in the house." And he doesn't, you know, clue into anything that's going on. It was just a ridiculously nonsensical scene. It wasn't even funny. Well, actually, it was funny, but at that point, I'm pretty much like, okay, everybody who ends up dying now pretty much deserves it because this girl just fucked everything for everybody. Her mother, the sheriff, and her boyfriend. So that's how her boyfriend ended up mutilated. And she kind of ended up dying in a weird way too because she really only she was kicked around a lot. Like when Luther kicks her around and then you think she just ends up unconscious. And then, of course, he picks her up and starts dancing with her because he can't get creepy enough. I mean, the chicken thing's creepy already, but he has to dance with a limp body, basically. And then when the mom comes to wake her, and this is another reason why I wonder if she goes into catatonic states when she's afraid, she, like, bounces back up and then looks alive, and then she hugs her mother and pukes blood somehow. She wasn't stabbed or anything. She was, like I said, kicked around a few times by Luther. But why she would vomit blood doesn't make sense, and why she would die immediately after that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make much sense either. But I don't know, the I think the plot was just to focus on Luther acting like a chicken and acting as psychotic as he possibly can, and like out of his mind psychotic as he possibly can, and just have reasons for people to die, and you know, put as many slasher tropes as you can in this, I guess. It's it's not a scary film, obviously. It's a dumb good time, and it's worth the price of admission alone just to experience the ridiculousness of this. Just like Vampire's Kiss is. You want to experience it because you just have to witness a guy like clucking and like crowing like a freaking rooster. And then I'm gonna get to the last scene, but Jesus Christ. The sheriff is the best too, because the whole kind of third act is just the sheriff and Luther, well, playing cat and mouse in the barn, and it takes place at night, so everything is dark. But that's another scene that they really stretch out, where Sheriff, he has a name too, Sheriff Mark Edwards is slowly creeping up to around the barn trying to look for Luther, and Luther's trying to get away, and they end up having a fight scene, but it drags on for like 10 minutes. And Mrs. Lawson finally gets the balls to, use the rifle to come out and help Mark look for Luther, but that takes a while. And then you get the final scene where, unfortunately, Mark ends up dying, the sheriff, and Luther just rips his neck apart too, and great special effects on the neck gore. The neck gore, awesome. It's not a zombie movie, but they do a good job with the neck gore. And the next morning, Luther the Geek is collecting chickens, because his favorite thing in the world is chickens, and Mrs. Lawson decides to outsmart him. How? By acting like a chicken. And she's, at this point, you can, like, it would make sense that she would be out of her mind too, because of everything she's experienced in the last, like, 12 hours, or whatever. And, her daughter dying, her daughter's boyfriend being mutilated, and this freaking chicken guy. I'm laughing just every time I think of Luther, the chicken man. There's KFC jokes in here, of course. The Sheriff Mark just drops a few KFC jokes. So yeah, she acts like a chicken. Luther thinks he found the love of his life, and then she busts out the rifle and shoots him right in the chest. And it pretty much ends there, but you're left wondering if Mrs. Lawson is now going to end up in as a killer herself, or just end up in the loony bin. One of the two is going to happen, or both. But like I said, for a short, quick watch, and a good like slasher killer film, this is such a good one to drink to, like with some buddies. Original artwork, and it's a real damn shame that that production company, or distribution company, I should say, didn't give this the special treatment that it deserved. And Vinegar Syndrome came along and gave it the special treatment instead, like two decades later. But yeah. Special features, I'm dying to hear the commentary by the director on this, so the next time I watch this film will be with the commentary for sure. And then there's a few interviews. Like I said, there's the one that I watched with the director, which he talks about how he got the inspiration to make this film, and he talks about what it was like on set, and he totally rips apart the distributors, as I mentioned. And you get an interview with the sheriff, played by J. Joseph Clark. And then you get some little tidbits here and there where the director is discussing specific scenes in the film, and kind of giving his input on them. But I haven't watched all the special features. I just watched the ones with the director, the two of them. And like I said, there's a commentary that I'm very excited for. But yeah, that's my Luther the Geek review. This is a great release from Vinegar Syndrome. Like I said, I'm testing the Vinegar Syndrome reviews on this channel, but if people like them, I'll keep doing more, because I do have lots of titles from them. There's 2 titles I'm going to be reviewing for 31 Days of Horror, and there's a few titles that I reviewed last year from Vinegar Syndrome as well. But yeah, that's Luther the Geek, and it's an amazing, weird time. That's my best take on it, and that's my best review of it. It's a amazing, weird time, and go find it somewhere, buy it from Vinegar Syndrome, and check it the fuck out. Subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you like to listen to my voice, or if you like my film reviews, and I will be back for more. There's plenty on the channel for you to check out while you're here, so do that, and until next time, have a good one. Cheers.